Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host, Matt Marrero, along with your other host,
Satish Ram, and I'd like to talk to you about maybe perhaps getting into my mouth in some way. You, sir, right there, I'd like to talk to you about getting into my mouth.
You know who that was, right?
That was Louis C.K., I believe, if I'm right here.
It's really weird that it was because, okay, I don't know anything about Louis C.K. other than some stuff that we're not going to bring up on the podcast. So I don't know much about him. Yeah,
he's a really good comedian. And
yes,
I thought it was fun that they just pulled him for the whole thing, where it was like, yeah, I'd like to talk to you about getting into my mouth. And just, how rude are you? Ignoring someone like that. And I was like, at first I was like, is he a good guy? And it's like, oh, no, he's not. He just wants to eat
thing is, I didn't know it was, because again, I don't watch stuff with Louis C.K. and nothing against him. I'm just saying that I don't know Louis, his comedy, right? I'm just not a big fan. Not that I haven't looked into it. It's not that I'm like, oh, I hate him. But, so yeah, I don't know him. But I hear the voice and I look at the face, and to be honest, it looks like Louis C.K.
That's what made me laugh a little bit. Like, I think they gave him a little bit of creative, leeway there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's make him look a little like Louis C.K. But that was one of the lowbrow funny things, I think.
Did you notice it looked like the other side of his head was a butt? So he's a butt head.
That probably makes sense.
So it's really funny. It's like, is that their take on Louis C.K.'s a butthead?
Yeah, I really, there was a lot of stuff that was subtle and really, really funny about tonight, and that's not overshadowing, which is the imminent danger and the obvious, oh my God, shit just got real moment, going on throughout the entire episode. But they balanced it well with a lot of really, really good jokes. And right off the bat,
my God,
we got that.
Yes, there's, I think we can actually talk about it in order in this episode and just gush, because usually we don't really like to gush when, we like to actually talk about the plot. But strangely, okay, this episode was not slow, but at the same time, in theory, not a lot got done. So I think we're going to have to gush.
No, see, that's
you know what I mean by
like,
not a lot.
Yeah,
you know
the last time that we did a Gravity Falls podcast, I mentioned, we were talking about people saying, oh, there might not be a season 3. And I'm like, I'm not here to debate that right now, but what I'm saying is that we have 4 episodes left, and if it's the end of the world, if we look at things in real time, we're watching half-hour episodes. There's a lot that can get done without a lot getting done, and
yes.
That's what this episode was a good example of, because I think maybe in Gravity Falls time,
it was 3 days.
It was, I was going to say a couple of days, but 3 days, because I remember Sandra Jimenez actually said that. So about 3 days or so over this, and that's that. And we saw a lot going on at the same time, not much at all in terms of what is going to happen. We don't know how they can beat Bill. We don't know what's inside Mabel's bubble. And there's still a lot of untied stuff.
Yeah. But, this could easily be, I'm thinking it's going to be a 3-parter. And then a final closing episode.
It's possible. Then there's so much to discuss based on not only our own theories, but also just what we had in front of us. Right off the bat, I think I want to say, when you and I surfed the internet a lot, and as we were growing up, there were a lot of jokes about mods are asleep post certain things, post whatever.
Okay.
And it's really funny to me because it really felt like some of this episode were senses are asleep, just slide this in there. Because there was a lot of really stretching the boundary stuff. And I know Disney's done some stuff before, that they were able to do it. But
it's weird.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but
it isn't stretching the boundaries.
The weird reason why I'm disagreeing is only because I think that a lot of it was we have to turn people to stone. Because, we can't, I'm saying, not that, of course, if you're thinking, oh, this is a children's show, yes, this does, stretch the boundary. It's why I say it's more of a family show. It's one of those, teens can get involved as well and things like that. And there are references, of course, to people like us as well who are a bit older than the teen level.
Speed Racer!
But,
sorry.
Yes.
But,
yes.
No, but the beginning with Preston, right? That was not, that was nightmare fuel for children. That was absolute nightmare fuel for children.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
that, I'm surprised they let that happen, but again, it's so crazy to hear this, but it's legit. I've mentioned this to you before on air. I think on our Steven Universe podcast, but it's applicable here too. No blood.
Yeah, there
no
was
blood.
I don't think there was any blood. Okay, I should say there was a river of blood in the intro, I think. But I don't
it could
think
be anything.
Yeah, no,
anything.
That's the funny thing.
It's a weird wave. It was probably a river of weird.
Yeah, I mean, the color scheme, of course, alludes to it being blood. But yes, I mean, all jokes aside, I can't. But I don't think there was any, like, blood. There was, like, internal stuff. Like when Ford shot Bill in the hat, and he, like, by the way, points for his hat being a part of his body. That's absolutely hilarious.
I was interested because he can morph, so he morphs that as a part of his being. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it made me scared too. Like, God, if someone shot if I'm wearing a baseball cap and someone shot it, but yeah, I think that was the most gore-ish, like in terms of red blood,
quote, unquote,
body flesh stuff.
But it's interesting too because, and it's interesting because again, I think I've mentioned this to you before. Usually it's applicable for robots, but the idea that in the U.S. And it's not, I'm not going to say that it's something, I don't believe it's something that's an actual rule, like we can sit there and open up the rule books, but it's definitely something that you can see. The idea, the concept that if it's a robot or if it's a monster, anything can happen to it. You see it a bit in Japan too, but also in Japan they do not have a problem with two people fighting each other and bleeding out. You see Dragon Ball Z, stuff like that. That's for kids, but they have no problem with someone coughing up blood if need be. Kai was censored, though, but still, the original Dragon Ball, Z anime was not censored in any way in Japan. And when brought over here, you had people coughing, let's say like Raditz, right? Coughing, but not coughing up blood. Or Piccolo's blood was red, not green.
Right. We had discoloration, essentially, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we had some
also
weird
Tien talking about growing his arm back. But anyway, that happened if you always forget. I always have to remind you, because I feel the need to remind everyone. Tien said, "Don't worry, it'll grow back." But anyway, the point is that when something's a robot, right? You look at, let's say, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2007, or even the Foot Soldiers in the 80s. So you can just have them be completely destroyed. I mean, shredded through. Not even like a pun on Ninja Turtle stuff. Just literally shredded through. And it's okay. No blood. They're not real. It's okay. Heads can pop off. Heads can literally roll. And it's like, well, thank goodness they're not real. And it's like, that's decapitation.
And that's actually a familiar scene for me growing up, the idea of like a decapitated robot, like with the wires coming through what would be the neck piece and stuff like that, sparks still running. Because you're right, it's like in comedy where like a puppet can say something that's really offensive because the puppet said it, not the human. So here it's like you can do whatever you want to the robot because it's not a human, right? Am I right?
And it's weird how censors get through that a lot. Also, we always forget this is a cable show. Like, in theory, cable can do a lot of stuff, even though it's aimed at children. They can do a lot of stuff. It's just, you are up to the standards of your channel and of the people that are advertising on your channel. And if you notice, Disney has other advertisers. They also advertise a lot of their stuff in-house and also, like, their own shows. And also, this is also an asterisk you should also put there. They're fucking Disney.
Yeah, see, that was the thing that I was just going to say, like, all jokes aside, like, by extension, Disney probably owns me. So it's kind of a thing where they can basically set the trends because who has the power? And this is half a joke, but also half serious. If you're unaware of the depth of Disney's corporational power, you should probably look into that. It's very
Disney
interesting,
probably,
to say the least,
I know
before I get shot.
You were making a joke, but I'm 95% sure Disney owns Guyana.
That wouldn't be much of an achievement based on, like, it's a small country.
But Disney can claim that they own a country.
Disney could buy my home country, if that's what you're saying. I completely believe that they have the revenue to actually purchase my country. Now, if they renamed it Disneyland, I'd be furious. I'd be furious. Because,
I'm so mad that we both
really
got it.
Don't think that would work. For
I'm
many
so mad
reasons.
that we both got it, though.
Because on the forefront, before I move on, what does that then make me? Not Guyanese, but Disneylandian? Like, Disneylandian sounds like Zoolander-ian or something, and it just sounds like something people will never take seriously.
Just shut up and be an employee of your new country. So anyway,
I don't even live there anymore. But
anyway, but seriously though,
I think they got away with some stuff though.
Yes, but I want to be very brief. Disney owns Marvel. Now Marvel can be kind of autonomous; they can do their own stuff. But Disney owns Marvel. Boom. Right there, I think that's enough for you to be like, wait, what? Yes, Disney owns Marvel.
And ESPN and ABC. But
thank you. That's what I was thinking. I knew ESPN, which is crazy to me.
Which is a big criticism on my part, because sports is, of course, my area of study. But, yeah.
The Mickey Mousing of sports, am I right? Of sports journalism, am I right?
Disney has given Gravity Falls leeway, and it's been necessary. It's been absolutely necessary because this show, like, Bill got to, in tonight's 23 minutes, demonstrate that he isn't, like, he's playful, but he's also, like, deeply, deeply psychotic and absolutely reckless and wild. And, like, we've seen him show the potential to be this horrible. But now in practice, you can actually see he murdered the entire Time Police and Time Baby. And, like, you know, this kind of stuff. Like, this is a guy from the beginning, just the Pyramid, and then he's just completely distorts Preston. And essentially sends the town haywire immediately within minutes. And that's how we open up.
Also, he has friends, by the way, which they weren't just random. They were the same silhouettes that we saw before standing behind him in that world when we had a flashback. But I assume that they were lackeys more than quote-unquote friends, mindless lackeys. But no, many of them got voice actors. They all got names, even these guys, right? So they all got names. And it's just so interesting how he really does have people surrounding him. Because I thought it was going to be more like, him, and then a couple guys like, hey, boss. No, they're actually, quote-unquote, friends or a posse, or whatever you want to refer to it as.
But it definitely works in a way like, okay, they're still in awe of his power and his strength. Yeah, like he's still by far the one that calls the shots. But you're right.
But they're still,
Yeah, and that's I guess consistent with Gravity Falls because we've had Tad Strange, we've had all these little quirky people like Lazy Susan, the minor characters, Toby Determined, Chandra Jimenez, they're there more than they need to be, and I say that in a positive sense because it shows the effort that's being put in.
Yes, no, I think that showing that the town was so belligerent and that they didn't just immediately run away in fear. When I first saw it, I was like, it sounded more like we're town folk, right? Like we're not going to take kindly to anything. But when you watch it again, it kind of got to me in a nice way. It's like, it is really nice to have them stand up for their own town, rather than just immediately going, save the women and children, No, it was just like, hey, we're going to fight you. You can't. Crap. We can't. Retreat.
Right, but it made sense because Gravity Falls is a tightly knit community. Everybody knows everybody.
Yes.
So it makes sense for them to be like, you know what, we can't just stand here and let you do this. And remember, with essentially a lot of their minds erased, for all we know, from stuff that's happened before, they don't exactly have a natural fear to this yet. Because it's only recently they've been re-exposed to it. And they've been re-exposed to it how? Through the eyes of Dipper. Like, you remember the local paper back with the Northwest episode of The Manor. And they're like, he tames this. And it's like they're being exposed to it in a positive sense because I guess the idea is that Dipper and Mabel are handling it. And that's really significant because they don't have that fear inbred in them yet. So now it's like, oh, my God, we are going to die.
Yeah.
People are dying.
Yeah, I was off about Pacifica's parents and Pacifica immediately being able to help against the fight, but I do think this was some nice foreshadowing because I do feel like they are going to help them fight. Because, in my opinion, a lot of the townspeople who have the power to fight, right, who have the strength, be it in money, be it in training, combat training, you look at Wendy, things like that, they're going to help fight in the end. And clearly this is like a 2, 3, 4-parter. They're going to have that time where they're going to rally people together. So I was off where I thought they would immediately try to help. But again, not everyone learns clearly.
Yeah,
I think this was his wake-up call.
I kind of laughed at Preston's comment. Because I know some people on the internet were like, oh, my God, I didn't want that to happen to anyone. I'm like, Preston needed a wake-up call. That
I hope it didn't happen long.
Yeah, but his bubble had to be popped. Not making a bubble joke here, but his bubble had to, in like the world he lived in, he had dominion over everything because of his money and because of his heritage. So someone had to pop his bubble. Bill doesn't give a shit.
If only Bill had been human. If only Bill had been human. Because if he had been human, man, that would have been a nice little member of their little tight-knit club. But I wonder if that was Preston just like, hey, you're a triangle. We should work very well together. Right? You're kind of illuminating, sir. I have money. I'm white. I think we should really work well together. Just like, actually, I'm kind of a demon. Oh. Well, my insides are going to be turned. Yes, they will. And his insides are basically flipped. And it was just like, well, here's the thing, though. Okay, he was thrown off, but I do believe he could still smell, hear, and see everything. It's just like because it was a different sensation is why he screamed in terror.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, if my eyes were ripped out of my eye sockets and where my mouth would be, I would scream too. Yeah, he didn't deactivate any of his bodily functions. He just switched their locations, which might also have been painful.
It's weird. I don't think it was painful because Bill's very magic. Remember when he ripped out the deer teeth? I don't think the deer felt any pain because it was just like, huh? Did that happen? But he did remove deer's teeth.
I like to imagine that, he did the deer teeth thing, the deer never actually lost his teeth. Because at the time, I don't think he was, it was in the middle it was a mindscape thing. Yeah. Because remember, he can project a lot of things in the mindscape. So,
yes.
But, I think it hurt. I mean, I like to assume it hurt because I want to take Bill more seriously. I already do now. But, just little things like that.
Yes.
Then the opening. Good fucking God, the opening, Matt.
That opening was amazing. There's so much greatness about the opening because it just shows you how much they care and how much work is put into this. Because first off, I mean, just the little things. You see that the Gravity Falls logo that's on the water tower gets flipped into something completely different. And if you decode that cipher, it's still Gravity Falls.
Which comes up later on in this intro, too, because you'll see what would be the normal Gravity Falls logo before it, created by Alex Search, created by Bill Cipher, which made me smile.
I died.
It works great because, Alex does voice Bill, so it's doubly funny in itself. But
yes,
it was great because that code came up, and if you decoded it with the Caesar cipher, it just became Gravity Falls again. And that was like, fucking pricks.
Also, Bill whispered something, I believe it was in reverse, at the end of the, because usually something whispered at the end of the opening. If you flip it, if you reverse it, it actually says, "I'm watching you, nerds,"
and
which had me dying.
On top of that, I told you what my favorite joke was in the intro, which was, so normally we have Bigfoot running through the trees for like a couple frames in the original opening. In this one, we had a shadowy figure running through big feet. What was it? A pine tree man. So to put that in perspective for you, instead of Bigfoot running through the trees, we had a tree running through the big feet.
Oh, my God. And, of course, the fact that his henchmen / friends were replacing characters. He replaced characters, and he became the entire Pines family. He's considered part of the family.
Yeah, no, that whole little runaround there with, the pictures and everything, it incited so much laughter out of me. I wanted to see it again immediately. And I've watched it, I think, about 10 or 11 times since. Because
I've watched it. It's
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, what I did was I watched the episode once. I obviously took that breather. I didn't want to watch it immediately. So I took a breather, and then right before the show began, I watched it again, which is usually what I would do, but we usually do these, we've only been doing them live, live as in the night of fairly recently. So usually I'll watch episode 2 maybe 3 times if it's been that long. But it's really interesting how she's like, wait, I watched episode once, but I can't completely write notes. I have to be looking at what magic is really happening on screen, and it's not the content. It's not actual magic. It's just, my God, the writing in this is somewhat magical, I would argue. It's a treat. It really is like Christmas every week, and I hope we continue to get them weekly, or at least monthly again.
Well, I mean, the general knowledge is that we're getting one around November 9th, which would be the Monday, the second week of November.
That's not so bad at all.
No, it isn't.
We just missed 1 week.
Yeah, that's the general knowledge. It's not confirmed to my knowledge, but that's the date everyone has been targeting and what's been talked about. I think it's based on the fact that a German Disney Channel release has listed as November 9th.
Okay. So here's something interesting, that I found interesting, that the creatures in Gravity Falls were actually scared of Bill, right? They seem to be from Bill's world, but they're even scared of these monsters.
Yeah, I think it implies sort of like the fact that they're afraid of Bill. It could also just be like being able to see it in real time, like demon creature.
What I was going to say is, they're more scared because of the fact that why do you think they were running? Like, in other words, why do you think they came to the human world? They could be big fish here.
Yeah, that's what I also was going to say. Like, it's implied that they came from like through that rift or something. That the rift, like there was some connection between Gravity Falls and Bill's world, and that's how these creatures, like the gnomes, ended up here.
Yes,
where
and they're
they
very
weren't
happy.
in danger of Bill and Bill's friends.
Yeah. What's interesting though is so even though it's another thing that I might be wrong about, where it's just they'll never come back, I do think they will. If not the gnomes, I think the Manitors. Even fucking Rumble McSkirmish, I do think they have the ability to fight against Bill and the monsters. They just don't know it yet, and I do think that Dipper and Mabel can try and rally them to fight.
It will turn out being significant. I think that all of them are present still. I don't know how, but I mean, it will somehow turn out to be significant. And honestly, they're going to need, the resistance at this point is going to need everything that they can possibly get their hands on.
3 Dippers? No. It would be nice.
And there's still a lot that is available that hasn't been discussed. I mean, Stan was barely touched on in this episode, referring to Stan Lee. I'm happy you were going to. I was hoping you were going to make mention of that because I was about to. If you didn't, it's not in my notes, but yeah, Stan he ran away from a goat that he technically could ride back. By the way, he ran away from a goat. Waddles isn't around, by the way, so God knows how cool Waddles is going to be if Waddles is like a fucking dragon right now. Yeah, no, there's like things are left open, and that's really good because I trust, much unlike with WWE, which we also podcast about frequently,
that we do enjoy occasionally.
I trust the writing. I really do trust the writing. They have earned my good faith, and I know that they're going to make use of everything available to them to make this entertaining. If they somehow manage to get Neil deGrasse Tyson back for Waddles, I'm going to fucking lose my mind. I know that was a filler episode, and that was in no way canon, and I get that. I'm cool with that. But the idea that we have the weird waves going on, weird things can happen. And if you have a goat being able to become Godzilla size, which kudos to them for that, by the way, you could easily have Waddles becoming smart and then having that be Bill's downfall. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that they're able to work with there. The one thing I will comment on that confused me a little bit, and we've had this discussion lightly too, this time travel involvement here with Blendon and the time and all that. That's going to be that made me super happy because I think it's really going to affect things later, where even if it's like, Bill's safe, time travel police are dead, is that going to affect the continuity, like the continuum? Yeah, because it's a really scary thought. I mean, he essentially murdered the Force and their leader in the baby.
Yeah.
Now, the baby isn't, according to the cipher towards the end of the show.
Okay.
The baby's
I was going to mention that.
Dead, but
he has to regenerate
for 1,000 years, and that's a long time.
Actually, I'm really mad. You want to know why I'm mad?
What's up, man?
Okay. I just realized something. I don't think they're going to do this, but if they do this, I'm going to piss myself. So you know how I look at time travel, and how Doctor Who usually looks at time travel. Like, usually I agree with Doctor Who's occasional rules for time travel, where it's just like, hey, if something happens a certain way, it was technically always meant to happen that way.
Yeah, we discussed this about Gravity Falls.
But here's what I mean though. Here's how it extends to this a little bit differently too. It takes 1,000 years for him to regenerate. It's like, when were they like in the future? Oh, like the year 3000, son of a.
Mhm.
Basically, the idea is, yes, it takes 1,000 years for him to regenerate, or thousands of years. Thousands would be better. Even then, if there's a point in history where he regenerates, he can technically eventually come back, which is what's really funny. It's why time travel is always a hard thing to write.
Yeah, that's my only worry, because I want that to play into this as little as possible, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be confused that much. I know Blendon has a role, but I don't want to sit there and be bothered by something that's overly done involving time travel.
No, I think if they're ever going to do it again, they're going to play it up in such a funny way where it's just, I went to 5 minutes before they showed up, and I got them. Yeah, well, they're dead again. Like, zaps. I went to 5 minutes before I went to get them. It's just like,
if there's a throwaway line like that, I will laugh. I will definitely laugh, because
I think they're based
on our current knowledge, the only time traveler available right now is Blendon.
Yeah.
And he on his own is not, he's not been proven to be much of a formidable force.
Unless he brings in those criminals or those people that were fighting to the death with each other. They weren't criminals, but they were.
Yeah, there's something of value there, because Blendon can time travel. But, for all we know, the Time Baby is essentially dead. And
well, he's essentially out of commission.
Right, so we can't access the Time Baby and the Space-Time Police Force right now. So
Pause. That's a quote, everybody. That's a quote. Like, Satish just said that, and it made sense.
I like saying Space-Time Police.
Yeah. By the way,
the Spatial Temporal Action Force.
Here's something that I thought you were going to mention, actually. So Seuss's grandma turning into an armchair, right? So that makes sense. But Seuss was fine. As well as other people.
Yeah.
This is extremely significant, because you also look at some other people, like you look at Grunkle Stan, you look at Dipper, you look at Ford. I wonder if people who have been in contact with Bill are safe from his weird thing, or if he's sparing them just to fuck with them.
No. Take it a step further. It's the involvement of that wheel.
Right.
Remember, all of these people are presumed to be on the cipher wheel. But wasn't Robbie affected? But that's the thing. They wrote that I was going to compliment them on that.
Okay.
Remember, Robbie was almost able to get away, but she just says, but he had to stop to take a selfie. It's not clear what his fate is. Also, it's not 100% confirmed Robbie's on the wheel. We all assume that he is because of that heart symbol. But right. Also, I want to say something. If Robbie was affected, it was by the monster, not by Bill. Right, like something, because Dipper might have still been affected by the stuff. And you never know if it's temporary, because so the assumption is that Gideon, Wendy, Dipper, Seuss are part of this wheel, and that they are, so, and like you look at Stanford, it's assumed that Stanford's like supposed to be on that wheel too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the curiosity as to, like, is it the wheel? Is there some relevance? Because you look at a guy like, I forget his name, but, like, it's the guy from the Society of the Blind Eye who was like,
Blind Ivan or
not
Bumber?
Not Blind Ivan. The whole, like, bunch of prudes.
Oh, right, yes.
Because when the bubble touched him, he lost it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Dipper and excuse me, Wendy and Gideon were able to go through it and come out okay. Now, with Ghost Eyes, I assume because he was under a spell, because of Gideon's spell, that he may not be affected because he's already under some kind of, like, prestidigitation.
I was going to say, he could have Ghost Eyes, or it could be his master in philosophy.
Right, yeah, no, he was his major in college. Much respect. I'm not a philosophy major. I'm more of a psych kind of person because philosophy is a bit too, like, existential for me. But much respect.
But don't tell Ghost Eyes that because he'll shank you.
He probably will kick my ass. But, and then
what
he'll think about why he did it. He'll think about why he did it.
What are you saying about, it's just like, you better think about what I just said about philosophy after I kicked your ass. You better think about that ass kicking thoroughly.
I think that'd be wonderful, actually. But, yeah, it's a thing where there's a lot I think the wheel has something to do with why these people aren't as affected or something. It leads me to believe that Stamford is not dead.
No. Well, Stamford is interesting because, again, of course he's not dead because he's stone. Because it's funny. That's why it's, like, reversible, with what they can do. The thing about Robbie, though, is, again, I do think that Dipper could have been frozen by a monster, but if Bill tried to drive him insane, he wouldn't have been affected, let's say. Or, with the bubbles, as we saw. Or, of course, monsters can eat him because, again, he's not, like, immortal. Like, he's not immune to monsters, But it's because that would be a little bit too kind of...
they're not immune to the monsters. It doesn't. I always make a joke about
hacks.
Hacks.
Yeah.
I use hacks because the idea of just being too overpowered.
Because how horrible would it be if the entire show is kind of negated? Where it's just like you were never really in danger, Dipper. Like no, the entire show can't be rewatched because every single episode just be like, not just because he's the main character, but you literally sit there and just go, yeah, there's really no threat of anything ever happening.
But he's been hurt by stuff before.
That's what I'm
remember,
saying.
He's been stung by bees. They wrote out Bewarb. But Bewarb. But so they jumped right into this whole thing of Dipper and Stamford trying to assassinate Bill, basically. And
I love that so much, but they were in a clock tower, and I sat there and thought,
how many shows have made this reference now?
Steven Universe and Gravity Falls, both that I can pick off the top of my head, which is weird because it's been a while, so I guess it's kind of like it can't be a too soon joke, but still, like.
No, yeah, and I mean, and around that we had some great one-liners. Meaning has no meaning, which is probably going to break me for the next week because I'm going to try to bring it up in one of my classes later this week just to fuck with my professor, and to see, I just want to walk up to a philosophy professor. So, meaning has no meaning, and wait.
I can see it.
And wait. But it was a lot of, it's funny, it was a wild ride, and I really enjoyed it, and I know that because it sounds terrible. It's like, you're enjoying their pain? I know that this is probably going to end in a positive fashion, so it's okay to enjoy the scenarios that Cypher has put together.
Also, strangely enough, it does seem like he's keeping people alive. Like, yes, they have the bats patrolling, but people can live if they're savvy enough. Toby Determined fucking lived. I'll say it that way. Like, I'm sorry. Bodacious T, my bad.
Bodacious T.
Call me Bodacious T.
That's some
Chandra Jimenez. Remember when I did that for an entire episode?
I was just about to say, there was one episode where I made the Sandra Jimenez joke, and then the entire episode, you were just doing the Sandra Jimenez and Toby's voice, and I don't know why.
Sandra Jimenez.
And I think I mentioned it post-show, too, just to mess with you. But
oh, my God. But anyway, so...
Toby's alive, and of all people, Wendy is really, really alive, and it makes perfect sense, and I love it to death. But
yes, of course. One thing that I find interesting, I find it very. I'm surprised really that Bill was just going to let Dipper get eaten, but I guess that goes to show how valuable Dipper really was, because Bill's the kind of character, right, that if you're meaningless, either you're going to be his plaything or you're not even worth it. That's why his friends/minions are kind of dealing with people. It's just like, you do whatever, right? But it's so interesting how for Dipper it's just like, yeah, you can eat the kid. Because he sits there and thinks like, yeah, this will be the one that will end everything. But of course he's smart, so it's like, oh, the kid escapes. Oh yeah, don't worry, I got someone watching over him.
Yeah, I mean, Bill knows how to beat Bill in the sense of like there is some weakness to him, and he is aware of it. And he's taking subtle steps to make sure that doesn't happen. What did he do? He sealed off Mabel. And that's significant because, and Wendy implies it too, something is related to when Dipper and Mabel are working together. Now, it could be a plotline thing for like kids work together, but there is the idea that he is afraid of Dipper and Mabel teaming up again because he realizes that they will be able to do something to him, regardless of whatever it is.
Strangely enough, it relates to a book and an anime called Death Note, where when these two characters, the characters of the code names M and N, right, Mello and Nier, when they work together, they could actually overshadow the character of L. But they don't do it often, and that kind of could have led to their downfall. Or maybe it did. I don't want to spoil. For any of you who haven't watched it yet, go watch it. Go read it. It's a great series. But still, so in other words, you have these two working together, and you have Dipper, who he's very intelligent, but he might not go headfirst into danger. Even though he is starting to learn to do it, he still isn't creative. So, in other words, his way of fighting, Bill, which I loved it, right, very tough, but it was literally just, I'm going to punch him in the eye, because that probably is his weakness, which I'm sure it would be. I mean, the dude has, you can't, remember that whole, I think, that quote, you can't protect your eyes, right? There's certain parts of your body that you can't protect. And your eyes are one of them. So, he can't protect his eye, but still, of course he has a force field. He's fucking magic. So that punch didn't work. But Mabel could have been like grappling hook or something creative that would have been like, damn it, did not see that coming. So she's kind of unpredictable, and you mentioned that, how some people are completely unpredictable and unreadable.
Yeah, it's harder in life, in my opinion, to work with someone who's inexperienced and like unaware of what the professional situation is than it is like a professional fighter in a sense. Like arguably, if you go into a match with somebody who's a trained MMA fighter, you've got a general idea like, oh, he's trained in Jeet Kune Do and Taekwondo. Like you know what his styles are, what his strengths are. You have a situation where you're going into an unknown in like a street fight. You don't know what you're up against. And that can serve you really badly because even if you're the most prepped person in the world, you're prepped along conventional logic. So if you're prepped for a punch and somebody shoots a grappling hook at your balls, that's not really what you're prepped for. So
now no one is going to sit here and say like, yes, Satish and I can totally take on MMA fighters.
No, I can't. There might have been a day years ago, but that time has passed.
That day was never there for me. I can take on a cookie, and I'd win, usually, if I didn't choke
on it. Devour it, eat it, and gain...
Cookie, repeat.
Devour it, eat it, and gain its power for me.
I'm chocolate now? But anyway, just like...
I feel like that was a subtle Dragon Ball Z reference. But...
Oh, wow. Thank you. Wow, it's happening in my sleep now. Oh, shit. I'm not even realizing it. That's
while podcasting. It's happening in my sleep. Unless you had a really odd dream.
Anyway, so let's just not talk about anyway, so moving on. No, but seriously, though, yeah, it's so interesting that he split them up because he could have easily tried to take, Dipper, even though Mabel was easily accessible. But still, I mean, literally, he just sat there and thought, yes, take her away. They cannot, if they're not working together, then that is good, right? You separate them, boom.
You know what I think part of it is, too? And I
What?
theorized on this in our last Gravity Falls podcast. The idea that Bill might actually have had to make a deal for her. You know, and I joked at the time. I was like, in her knockout state, summer's lasting forever. You know, if this time bubble is a real thing, Mabel could be not in prison, but in a time bubble right now. Because
I would
he
laugh
has to
really
fulfill
hard.
his end of the deal.
I would laugh really hard if that's why they came back. This time bubble nonsense. Wait, you mean, but what about the town being destroyed? That happens every once in a while. But this time bubble shit. You better knock
and I
this
know
down.
we talked about it because we don't know if, like, he actually went through with the deal. I think I remember saying that I was not clear about whether he actually went through with the deal or not.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't know. And I don't know how he even got to possess Blendin. Because it's now shown.
Oh, my
that,
God. But,
yeah, it was
hey,
against his will.
His body is a temple.
Exactly.
How dare him. Before we move on to Wendy, because I want to talk a little bit about Wendy when we first got to see her again, I want to mention, so here's the thing, just brief. Was the butthead monster really fucking unsettling, though? Like, the way he didn't emote when he said things, just like, it was kind of like a calm, like, come on, man. Wasn't it weird?
Unsettling is a really good word, I think, actually. Because
I wasn't necessarily terrified, but it was extremely uneasy.
It's funny because, like, Gravity Falls, watching the series from beginning to now, the giant eyes floating around, turning people into stone, zapping them, Bill's giant laser blasting time police to, like, smithereens, didn't affect me in a way that I thought, unsettled, this is weird. The freaking hand monster guy and his tone of voice affected me. Because in my head, I'm like, all the rest is normal. But that just unsettled me, like, hey, you should get in my mouth. I'd like to talk to you about getting in my mouth. And I was like, fuck, what? It's like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, come on. Why are you being so rude? Come on. God, this guy is so rude.
And I have to give Louis C.K. credit for, like, that's a special voice acting in a way. You know, that's something I'll respect because being able to do that voice that way, it's like, that's his normal voice. Well, it worked. It worked then. And I'm glad it worked because it came off weird because of that. Amongst an episode based on weird. So respect.
Yeah. It stuck out somehow. So here's something I want to bring up. Talking about Wendy now. How great was it that she was wiping her face with money? Because it really shows you, like I make these jokes all the time, or at least on and off, but it's really true. It shows you how meaningless money is during the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's
that
why
we hold dear.
Preston has no value, but Stanford, for having 6 fingers, was a genius and respected by Bill. He offered him partnership.
Yes, because he truly considered him a genius. And the 6-finger thing was just to be like, hey, you trapped me in there and didn't help me get out, so I'm going to be an ass to you. Because I don't know if he would have made fun of him for his 6 fingers if he was, like, really completely okay with joining him, because he didn't make fun of his other friends. He let them eat each other, but he didn't, like, say, like, hey, asshole, or something. But, like, he looked at...
It didn't always come off at making fun of either. It felt like it was a legitimate offer. It's just like, look, you're weird.
No, the offer was legitimate.
Yeah,
the offer was legitimate, but I feel like the 6 fingers thing was just kind of like a way to just... Because he has to understand that he has, like, what's it called, like an aversion, like he doesn't want to be considered weird, or he has this little insecurity, because Bill knows everything about you. So he knew that I was going to get under his skin a little bit. Just like hey, screw you, man. Like, the offer was real, but calling him a 6 fingers, like, hey, you have 6 fingers, you're a freak.
Because it brings him back. It's like repressed childhood memories. You know, when it gets Freudian for a second, that's what he went through as a kid. And so it was really interesting because I thought he might have joined to betray him from the inside, but I guess they decided, no, that's too cliche. Let's just zap him and turn him into metal, I think. It looked like he was gold himself, which was funny. During the apocalypse, though, money is meaningless. Buy. Oh, I thought it was like cash money. You remember that, right?
Yes.
Buy gold, buy. Yeah, when Bill disappears, he knew.
No, not that. No. The song with
I know
Stan
Cash Money
and
with
yes.
his statue.
Yeah, but so yeah, I just really want to focus on just the idea that during the apocalypse, money's worthless, and it's great to have Wendy kind of just be like, she's wiping her face with money. She didn't go into the fire, but she's just wiping her face like, man.
You know what she was throwing into the fire?
Paper. What?
Math books.
A bat. That's hilarious. I didn't even
Math
notice.
books, yeah, because on the side there, it looked like her prototypical firewood, and it was math textbooks.
That's hilarious.
And I laughed really hard because I was like, this is so stereotypically teenagery, and I laughed at it.
Well, she was in Hot Topic.
Well,
she was at the Hot Topic.
Edgy on purpose.
Yeah, that's their Hot Topic for their universe.
I know, and it makes me laugh.
I know. I usually don't like mentioning brands, but that's obvious. I mean, that's just like, we don't even have to
but
say
Edgy
anything
on purpose gets a little chuckle out of me because as somebody who used to shop there, I was like, okay, you got me. You got me.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I'll take it. It's like if you're at a roast and you're like, all right, you got me. That's a good one.
Yeah, no, it was really funny.
And it created Bodacious T, who was never exposed to that kind of stuff.
I really feel like he wasn't, and that's why it's just like, or he never felt like comfortable to, but I was like, screw it, it's the apocalypse. I can dress however I want to. And it's
exactly.
It's a Bodacious T now. Dude,
what was great
is
that
ever call you that.
He kept that into the following scenes. Like, it wasn't like a one-scene change. He kept that attire going forward.
What's great is, so did everybody else. Gideon was leading a group of Mad Max rejects. I know they were technically the criminals, but still.
Oh, it really
outfits.
did feel like a heavy Mad Max referencing scene, right? Everything about
Which is really funny because Alex Hirsch could literally say, I wrote this before the new movie came out. Or this was a concept in my head before the new movie came out.
That's what I want to discuss with you. It's funny because, people are like, Mad Max Fury Road. It's like, yeah, but the show began in 2012. And it's funny because Mad Max was released, earlier this year? So, in my head, it's like, it's too recent to be a reference. And it's funny because, I don't know, it's ridiculous. What if they were two completely separate but the same thoughts? Like, Mad Max came out and Falls written before that.
Wait. No. But you know that Mad Max was a thing in the 80s.
Yeah. But, referring to, referring to the recent incarnation. Actually, yeah, my parents know about Mad Max. This is funny.
Okay.
Referring to the recent incarnation of Fury Road. The similarity felt really apparent, and they may not even
Well, no, but the general wasteland thing is part of the thing. Where it'd be like if someone was I'm a dreadful judge, even though the movie came out not that recent.
Yeah, but
Judge
Dredd's been around for a long time too. So I get that.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. No, but but that's why. Although I will admit, of course, they do not have any problem with putting in recent, memes, if you will, right? They have no problem doing that. But at the same time, I do feel like there are certain things that have been in Hirsch's head for a very long time, of course. So I feel like this was something that, he was.
Speaking of
he had this in his head. What?
The spin the bottle reference. He finally got it. I don't know if you remember the issue with that, but
right, I remember.
There was a spin the bottle joke that was removed from season 1 for censoring, and he finally got it. He finally freaking got it.
That's the thing, though. So it's funny how so many other factors, I don't know how it was in season 1, but now we had A, monsters. B, it ended in one monster eating another.
We had, real monsters. It was really impressive. But, oh my God, I laughed because I'm like, I kind of felt a sense of achievement for him. Yep, you got your spin the bottle joke, Alex. I hope you're proud.
But it's funny how it had to come out, where it's just, it feels like, we mentioned this before on the show, the Family Guy thing, where it's just, we want Peter Griffin to poop out nickels. Sorry, can't happen. It's too graphic for us, the FCC. Can he have sex with his wife, not showing it on screen, but we do hear the money jiggling? Yes, that can actually work.
Yeah, it's like going to South Park with the Tom Cruise thing. It's like, can we say Tom Cruise is gay? No. Can we say Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet? No, you can't say that. Can we physically lock Tom Cruise in a closet? and mentioned that he's not coming out. Yes. And that created...
Can we then have P. Diddy? And Tom Cruise trapped in the closet. I think I forgot which one.
I think it was R. Kelly.
And he was trapped in the closet. So I pull out my gun. And he's got a gun. And now I'm trapped in the closet with Tom Cruise.
Probably one of my favorite South Park episodes ever, honestly. And I'm not a huge fan of South Park, but man, that got real laughter out of me.
Are you sure you don't like being caught in the Vinda loop?
That was a really, really hilarious episode too, actually. The customer service Vinda loop. But you could tell that he's gotten leeway now, and I'm glad. But swinging
but
back,
it's still funny. Yeah, how it's leeway, but you can tell that they were like, you have to do it this way. And he's like, this is what we're doing, really? So what I also enjoy, swinging it back again, I think the bubbles were the best part of the episode, though, somehow. The bubbles were just...
The gag with the bubbles, or like
yes.
Okay.
The gag.
That was really, really funny. There's no other way to put it. It was really, really funny. Speed Racer reference made me happy. Very, very happy.
We had anime. We have anime versions of them where we had two characters from Speed Racer in the back of the car. We have we started off with the bird part, which reminded me of Hateful Boyfriend.
This is all you. Because if you're on this is all your brainchild. Because
because I honestly don't know if it is, and it truly might not, right? But if anyone doesn't know, the full name of this game, I think it was a freeware at one point, but now you could actually buy it through the PS4. It's called Hateful Boyfriend: A School of Hope and White Wings, and it's actually a visual novel. So it's basically a dating sim where you get to play as a pigeon, and everyone, they're basically pigeon/birds. So you can buy it on the PS4. Not even kidding, you can. You can also get it through your Vita. You can get it through Windows as well. I just want to promote this because it's beautiful, man. Like, they released this, dude. Someone decided, we're going to make a dating sim, but they're all going to be birds. It just makes me so happy.
You can most definitely sit there and tweet at him and ask, because I'd love to know.
Were you making a joke?
Yeah, no.
You're tweeting at him about the bird stuff?
I'm trying hard not to, but literally that's the only way to contact him, Matthew.
I know. I'm going to ask because it's funny how some might say, are you really sure, Matt? Well, look, they have no problem making anime references. They have no problem making tokusatsu references. I mean, the fact that, they were just like, let's have the goat grow, 50 feet or whatever. Like, obviously it's a Godzilla thing, and Godzilla being tokusatsu, one of the many different stuff, yada, yada, yada. Not going to go through tokusatsu again, as I always do. But still, so clearly they, they're fans of a lot of varied things, obviously. So, I do think that it might be a Hateful Boyfriend reference, and if it is, it's wonderful. We did have the anime version of them, and we had the actual voice actors. I knew it was going to happen because we've had weird things like that happen before in other shows, but I still can't believe they went through with it. They had Jason Ritter, and I can't believe I forgot her name even though I Googled it before. I love her, though. She's wonderful.
You're talking about Wendy's voice actress?
Yes.
I slipped up on this earlier, too, actually, because I know Jason Ritter right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And I messed up.
I'm looking it up again. Go on.
Okay. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah, I slipped up because I'm like, I know this person. I know you. Linda Cardellini, I think. And, like...
Yes, thank you.
Because she did, she
I knew Cardellini. She was. In the live-action Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, the Scooby-Doo movie, so that's why I know her.
Yes.
But, I laughed really hard because I was like, that's...
I gotta be honest, though. They both looked like, as if Dipper grew up, he would look like Jason Ritter. And Wendy, here's what's funny about her as Wendy. You might be like, it doesn't look like it's Wendy grown up. It just looked like Wendy at that exact moment. And it was so confusing because she's 40 years old.
Some people
Not that we're gonna
look young forever.
Good for her. She'll be 80, and it's just like, when did she go to experience other people in Hollywood? When she experience that time when she doesn't get 16-year-old roles? Never going to happen. Just Linda Cardellini will be getting roles for young women forever, apparently, way up until her 200s. Just clearly, she's another Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, man, look it up. He's been around forever.
He's not
this
200.
Is Keanu's world.
Oh.
This is Keanu's world. We're just living in it.
No, it's Bill's world, and we're just living in it.
We're just billing in it. But I have to say, all right, so I do think that the writers of this show deserve a lot more awards than they already have, and I do think that they will be moving on to better things, not as if this show isn't better, when the show ends. Where, like, once the show ends, these people are just going to have to be doing other amazing things as well. Like, it can't just be, oh, well, we don't want to hire you. No. These people, the amount of work that is put into this episode, into these episodes, they could have easily. I know it's Alex Hirsch pushing it with his vision, but it could easily just be phoning it in. Oh yeah, do this, add a little bit of that, whatever. It did not seem like at any point in this episode the thought whatever came out of anyone's mouth, or the words whatever came out of anyone's mouth. The thought whatever came into anyone's head. Like, the fans will get it, whatever. It seems like everything was just, no, we need to entertain everyone to the point where they physically cannot cope without Gravity Falls. Like, the work that was put into this is just astounding to me.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. And it's funny, this is a weird thing to admit, right? But I'm so caught in traditional thinking that I know that this is a more than a one-part episode, right? Because it's part one. And I sat there, I'm like, the next episode is going to clear it up. And the first thing you said when we got on was, this could be 2 or 3 parts. And I'm like, wow, right, you idiot, Satish. This could actually be a 3-part thing. Or a 4-part episode.
Yeah, no, well, because we don't really get 3-parters often. Even in something like Doctor Who, they usually go for the 2-parter. I know you're not a big fan of Doctor Who, but even then, if you hear me talk about Doctor Who, you'll hear, or other people, you hear, 2-parters. Steven Universe has 2-parters. I mean, a lot of stuff nowadays, like they go for the 2-parter, not for the 3. But, hell, I think this episode had the opportunity to be a 2-parter. I was wondering if you were going to mention that, because I didn't know if you were going to think like, some parts seemed a bit, not rushed, but they seemed like they were very brief.
Yeah.
Like how the rest get out of jail.
Gideon. Not even Gideon's parts, both of them. Both him getting out of jail and him turning were done really quickly. What I want to credit them with is the moment that he turned actually hit me emotionally.
Yes, me as well.
Like that writing and that line.
It's the writing.
Yeah, like, will you tell him what I did? Will you tell her what I did? And I was like, wow, he's really considering it. He's going to do it. And part of it was just the idea of, like, he didn't want to, he realized he can't be, he's not scared of Bill. He is scared of Bill, but he doesn't want to, and he's leading a prison army. My God.
It's actually scary that you word it that way, because when you word it that way, he basically has become Negan from Walking Dead, which I know you don't know much about Negan, but he's become, I'll talk to you about it after the show, but he's become Negan, dear God. That's fucking scary to me. Negan walked around with a fucking baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire named Lucille and said that he needs to feed her every so often before bashing someone's head in. Yeah. Also, he looked like, I think, Patrick Warburton, who's the voiceover for Joe from Family Guy, who's also the guy who played the live-action version of The Tick.
Oh.
He looks like him. He's a comic, though. It's not like there's no Negan in the show just yet. But in comic book form, he looks like him. So I attribute to his voice. So whenever I read it in his voice. and it's just hilarious. Just to think about that, and you're like, he's leading a prison army, and I'm like, oh, good God.
Yeah, and just that
Not
whole
today.
thing of he basically is like, let's have a prison brawl. And I loved Seuss's later follow-up, the idea of, wow, I thought I was going to have to throw down. And I was like, what? I was like, Seuss is going to kick their asses. Oh, my God.
No, Seuss? Okay, so we may have jumped the gun when Seuss got taken out during the zombie apocalypse. Because we all sat there and we all thought, of course, every nerd is just like, I know a lot about the zombie apocalypse, dude, and then just gets bit, and then they're fucked. So he might not do well in the zombie apocalypse, but he does very well in the monster apocalypse. Clearly.
Speaking of, the metal bands got it right. Just want to make that clear. The
yes.
death metal bands knew what they were talking about.
I couldn't stop laughing because I thought, wow, that's accurate. That, and then when they went metal before, during the
yeah, the heavy metal when they left, I was like, oh, that's funny.
No, when they were in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when they went heavy metal, and I was like, oh my God, are you serious? I was like,
the vaudeville and old school silent movie one is tied with the anime one for me as my favorites.
The live action is my favorite, but yes, that's one of my favorites too. The fact that I've been working with a lot of older silent films, that's why it really got me laughing a lot, because I thought, wow, they really just did this. Thank you. Thank you, Base Church. Thank you. But by the way, the fact that Seuss had folk songs written about him, now that we're on Seuss, I told you this before the show began. Both Gravity Falls and Steven Universe have been guilty of doing this, and it gets me so mad when they do. Sometimes they'll make one-off jokes that might seem more interesting than the episode itself. This takes nothing away from the episode, because I love this episode to death, but I think I really would have liked to see a full episode of Seuss walking around just as a bandit, as this, not a bandit, but as this Zorro character, just going around saving people as he wanders the plains. I'm frankly frustrated we didn't get to see that.
It reminds me when they had the Grandpa the Kid thing. Just like, Grandpa the Kid, I'm tired during the day. So I just sat there like Desperado Seuss. And it's just like, hey, dude. And I thought about it. I was like, wow, there are probably going to be fan-made folk songs for Seuss now.
They started it. They really have.
I don't know if they know what they've started. I mean, we've got people on the ciphers already, and this episode aired less than 4 hours ago, and they had them within that, about an hour from the episode. They had both of the ciphers managed. Yes,
well, we're in real time. It aired a little bit over 4 hours, but that's still nothing. That's still short of it. That's still amazing. I'm not going to sit here and take that away from you. Because real time, it's 12:30 right now by us, real time, and the show aired by us at 8. But that's still crazy. The fact that we can do a live show, not right after, of course, but we can do a live show the night of and have everything deciphered already. I mean, this is crazy. The train that, I say snowball effect in a good way. The snowball effect of just how in the first episode, it was just, it was on for kids, and God knows who caught it, right? Just some people caught it. I'm just like, you got to watch the show. You got to watch the show. All of a sudden now, people are deciphering things, while the show is airing. I mean, it's mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I personally feel like we could do the show in 2 weeks at 8:30. And we'd have almost all the ciphers done, or they would be getting done while we're doing our show anyway. Because we usually talk about the ciphers at the end.
Yeah, some of them do. And this one was one of them was a little bit easier because of the fact that the one at the end, the words, not the number code, because there was 1,000 in there, featured right after with the 4-letter thing. So it kind of made sense that it was 1,000 years. And from realizing that word was years, you could actually reverse decode the rest of it.
All right. But
that's That
was
one
still
of them.
wonderful. Yeah. It was still such a wonderful thing. To just this episode in general, and yeah, I loved it. Of
Do you
course,
have them
right?
both? Do you want me to? Do you read them or?
I wasn't going to read them just yet. I was going to read them as we wrap everything up.
No, it's cool.
I want to talk about.
You had them both.
Oh yes. I had that up, right before we started the show. But as you mentioned a little bit earlier, just the writing for Gideon was just amazing, and the fact that it might seem a little bit rushed to some, and I would even agree a little bit, but the idea that all it took was one line. It makes it even more powerful, because sometimes, and I think I've said this to you before, and I said it wrong, so we both turned it into like a funny little joke on air, but it's true. I write as a writer. Sometimes I make long-winded speeches, and I have to cut down on that. And it's just amazing how you could not need such a long-winded speech. Just one sentence explains it all.
Mhm. And it hit me too, because the voice actor goes ahead and you've got emotion there, and it was good. It was a really nice moment.
Yes, thank you. I want to mention that as well. Thank you for reminding me. The voice acting just really helped. You could tell that no one there sits, goes into work, right? Goes into voiceover, doing voiceover for Gravity Falls, and thinks, got to do this again. It's my job. And if they do, still doing a very good job of masking it, because they all seem very enthusiastic. There does not seem to be one disgruntled person, right? Like on, in that booth. Everyone is it feels like they're giving it their all. And they seem so happy to be working on this show.
And it's really a ride that I'm enjoying because of that.
Yeah. You don't really feel this idea of, oh, man, you can tell that someone doesn't want to be there. No, they're really giving it their all, and you can just feel it. So, yeah, it's an amazing thing, seeing Gideon. What I really wish, I think, is we had more. I understand because it's an animated show, and it's, on Disney, so they're not really going to have these voice actors doing behind-the-scenes interviews. But I really wish they did more. I mean, maybe there are that I don't know about, but even you have, let's say, Kristen Schaal go on a show. Very rarely will you hear, and you're part of Gravity Falls. Very rarely. From the person doing the interview. I know that, what was it? I know his name, but I always forget his name because I keep on mixing his name up with his name on Doctor Who. James Corden. James Corden actually had her on. He goes, talks about her Last Man on Earth. So he's like, oh, and you're on Gravity Falls. She goes, yeah, I am. And, so, stuff like it'll be briefly mentioned, but I never really hear, Jason Ritter goes on at midnight and Gravity Falls is not mentioned. Stuff like that. So it's interesting. I really want to see more of them behind the scenes talking about the show, because I really want to hear how they feel. Because a lot of other shows, you'll see the amount of press and all this stuff talking, how does it feel to be on the show? How is this? But not really much about Gravity Falls, or Steven Universe, actually. We thought that Nicki Minaj being on the show was an urban legend, and so we were like, nope, it's confirmed.
No, and I think those are the pinnacle of like, I was going to say Western, but that's actually correct. Yeah, Western animation right now.
In our opinion, yeah.
Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. And there are some shows that I think, like Wander Over Yonder and Over the Garden Wall, which I believe are also Western animated, are competing and very good shows as well.
Over the Garden Wall, I haven't seen it yet, but it looks to be so entertaining that it's hard to compare it because it was short and it didn't continue. But my goodness, Wander Over Yonder, I haven't actually heard great things about. What I do enjoy, though, I haven't seen a lot of it, but and it might seem weird, be like, Matt, you enjoy that? Yes, I do. Star versus the Forces of Evil, which also is nice. I think it's another one of
Star versus the Forces of Evil is probably something. Yeah, that's another one, and that's on a little hiatus right now.
No, I haven't caught up, so it's okay. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on right now. I think Western animation. I think that it's weird because I don't know maybe I just stopped watching it, and that's why I think it died for a bit. But I do think it feels like it's coming back, where there are enough people that are just bringing in a really nice amount of energy into these shows, and just so that we can really sit there and not just like I can watch this with a younger sibling, right, and feel like we're both getting, even if they're only getting half the jokes, right, or just a younger family member, they're only getting half the jokes. It's still not raunchy. Because sometimes you do run the risk of that. Like, I don't believe that, Gravity Falls is any way inappropriate in a way that it's just, oh, no, a child can't ever possibly think of watching it. Of course there's jokes for us, right? Of course.
Yeah, and the stuff it's written not only well, but it's also, there's vision. Like, one of the criticisms I have about wrestling a lot, and I'm sorry to just throw it under the bus again.
No,
it
WWE.
Feels like WWE. It feels like WWE writes things like as they go, and it's really, really bad because there's a lack of vision. Where you look at things like, and I have a friend mentioning this to me right now, Steven Universe's Gravity Falls, continuity and subtlety is a really big factor. Like, she mentioned to me the idea of on Steven Universe, there was a joke about what are we going to do with this character, put her on a leash, and then a couple episodes later, we saw her on a leash.
Right.
And it was like stuff like that. So she's saying that like Zeus's folk songs may actually come up to be something as well. Because
that's what I expected too. Yeah, I expected some people talking about Zeus without actually knowing it was him.
Yeah, no, and there's definitely this subtle continuity of the show. I mean, you have the stuff like Ducktective is another one that kept going throughout. But I can't believe we both just did that. But yeah, no, I can't.
Oh my God.
I fucking can't. Are alive? See, this is what fucking Alex Hirsch has done. In 2015, he got me and my business partner and podcast partner to do that live to people listening.
This is why I want to become a CEO, because I want someone to say, did you, like, as if it's going to be like a scandal, did you quack like a duck, Mr. Marrero? Yes. Actually, like just live during a fucking press conference. This is why.
It's also why we're not CEOs of anything.
Not yet. Not No, but anyway, I got to stop. That's become the new Toby Determined thing, where it's like, Chandra, he anyway.
Get the
fuck
out.
Really,
you're not allowed to combine the two of them.
I really got to stop. This is horrible.
If you combine the two of them, the fucking space-time police will get you. But
with the Time Baby. I love the Time Baby, by the way, so much, especially because it was just like, Time Babies, it was weird because, okay, I don't know if you noticed this, but we have to wrap things up soon, but when Blendon was okay, I thought, wait, did the others escape? Like, or did Blendon just be like, nope, I'm out, or he dodged or something?
Right, it wasn't implied yet. We do have to wrap things up because we actually hit the archives and our live listeners got cut off, and I feel bad.
No, we didn't.
Did we?
No, I put it for an hour and a half, good sir.
Bastard, you don't tell me these things.
I put it for an hour and a half, good sir.
Okay, we're good then. But, yeah, it's not implied in any way. Like, obviously Blendon's alive, so he got out of the way. But the scene looked like total obliteration. What I was going to say is that what I like about the Time Baby is that he is still a baby no matter what. Because when we had the games in the future earlier on in the season when they were fighting Blendon, Blognar or the Time game.
No, Blognar was legit. Like, that's the name. Yes, you are correct, sir.
It's basically until Time Baby finishes drinking his formula and he gets burped. Like this here was like endure my tantrum, and I was like, fucking shit. It's not like we will hurt you.
Yeah. It's scary how powerful Bill is, though, because I thought they were going to be saved as a last resort, not, we're going to send them out there and show you just how scary this thing is. Thing being Bill, since he is not of, we say he, but we really, but Bill is just something of.
Liar, monster, snappy dresser. Us as future CEOs, we could probably take some advice from him. I think. Like I don't think I could pull off a top hat, actually. I'm being honest. I don't think
I could. But here's the thing about
Go fuck
Bill,
yourself.
by the way. We mentioned that we mentioned that Bill, if I play my cards right.
Get through your fucking statement.
The fact that we mentioned way earlier, Bill is being very meticulous in planning. He was playing chess with Stanford a while ago, and it's very funny because you see that's his outlook on life. The whole chess piece thing.
That's a beautiful subtlety.
It is, and I really enjoy it. Just seeing him playing chess a while ago and kind of having it seem like him looking at everyone as a chess piece, as a pawn in this game. Also, very, very brief, I know many people won't get this, but so Car Ranger and Kaku Ranger are two Sentai shows that became Power Rangers Turbo, and Kaku Ranger became Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. Anyway, the reason why that's relevant is because the Japanese version, they have a lot of scenes where in Car Ranger they basically have a monster bar where all the monsters were kind of like the bar in in Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Han totally shot first, okay? And also in with Kaku Ranger they kind of had this it was more of a parlor really where all the yokai, right, the Japanese monsters kind of chilled. So the reason why I bring this up is because it was really funny seeing these monsters party, because it just kind of that popped into my head, and I sat there and thought, I wonder if they're fans. Because again, we've seen this Godzilla stuff, we've seen all this other stuff.
They also,
I wonder,
they were drinking Time Punch, which I assume was alcohol, and some of those monsters might have been underage.
Yeah,
and that makes sense because Bill is dastardly. So, of course, he would have underage monsters playing Spin the Bottle and drinking Time Punch.
And doing the Monster Mash.
Oh, fuck you.
Halloween.
It was on purpose. This is the Halloween episode.
Apparently. It felt like it was. I was wondering if there were, I was sat there and thought, guys, just air it on Halloween. I would have loved it. I don't know how the ratings would have been.
I don't know how the ratings would have been. Yeah, this actually made... Yeah. They'll probably re-air it on... I mean, this Sunday we've got a Gravity Falls Marathon, actually, the Seuss Giving Marathon, but...
Really? Is that what it's called?
I'm 90% sure that's what it's called. I don't have a fact-checker available for this, but I'm pretty sure this Sunday at 1
happy.
Is the beginning of a Seuss Giving.
Oh, my God. I'm getting the Seuss Giving turkey ready. I'm getting the Seuss Giving folk songs. Oh, my God. This is going to be a great Seuss Giving. I might just take, a Seuss nap because of how much of the Seuss turkey. I couldn't pun it, man. The Seuss turkey I'm going to eat.
Get out.
I'm really hyped about Seuss Giving, man.
Are we wrapping this? Are we wrapping this up?
This is the last joke before we wrap everything up.
Okay, because I need to shout out one of our friends who's on the podcast a lot via call-in, and that's Daniel, who normally calls into our WWE podcast, because we had a discussion last week where I told him the episode name was Weird Apocalypse, and yeah, that he was like, well, it should be Oddmageddon. And Sandra Jimenez, Weird Apocalypse, or the Oddmageddon, or Oddpocalypse, I'm sorry, Weirdmageddon, Oddpocalypse, and Weirdmageddon is the name of the episode. And he was like, no, it should be the Oddpocalypse. And Sandra Jimenez actually says verbatim, or Oddpocalypse, as some are calling it. And I sat there and I'm like, Daniel should feel vindicated and happy there. Because he should,
but also a little bit watched, because how did they know? Dun, dun.
Get the God. I know where you live, because you're being watched too.
That reminds me of that Simpsons episode. I am watching you through a camera.
I've been to your house enough times to have set up cameras in your house.
I slowly stopped and turned, 360, and then I walked away.
It's okay. As you turned, so did the cameras. As the cameras turned, a new drama here.
I want them. Here's why. I want them to be WWE cameras. They're as huge as WWE's cameras, but they're just turning while I'm turning. It's just, you know that guy never blinks? What if he's blinking when you're blinking?
Oh, that was a good callback.
But, I love that joke so much.
I mean, here we are. I'm still really excited.
We're at the end.
Yeah, I'm still really excited. I need more of it, really, really badly, because I can't. You know, Wendy and Seuss and Dipper are going into this, and I don't know what the hell they're going into. Meanwhile, Gideon's going off to war with essentially a tear in his eye, implying that he doesn't think he's going to come back, but he'd rather die a hero.
I know, it's really emotional, and it sucks that Gideon might not be part of the final battle. Not that he's dead or anything, but he just might not be a part of it. He might be stoned or something. But I do think that he might be the only one returning, sadly. Also, weird, because I don't know why, for some reason, when I heard Ghost Eyes in my head just now, I wonder if Hirsch pitched it as, what if his name is Ghost Eyes Killer? And they were like, no. Really? Are you sure?
You're a Ghostface Killer fan?
I'm a fan of Def Jam Vendetta.
Oh, good for you.
Remember?
I believe he was in Fight for New York, but that's okay.
Damn it.
No, it's fine. Fight for New York is I've mentioned this on air, my favorite fighting sim that's ever existed. So.
But Vendetta was first, right?
Correct.
Then, did I play Fight for New York? How do I know Ghostface Killer? How do I know Mr. Killer?
I know he was in Fight for New York for sure, but I don't think he was in Vendetta. I'll have to look.
Okay. That's not for today, though. We would like to thank you all for listening to those guys. I'm going to mention a lot of our social media stuff, as I always do, if you don't know about it. We have ourselves a website, of course, thoseguysintheradio.tumblr.com, where we have all of our old podcasts on there, both Tish and I and many other hosts. We've done a lot of different
200.
Things. Over 200 episodes. We have done a lot of episodes. We've done stuff, obviously, on Gravity Falls, on Steven Universe. We've done stuff on WWE, as we mentioned earlier. We've done WWE Monday Night Raw almost consistently for about a year and a half now. We've done also WWE pay-per-views as well, which you can find those pay-per-views on the WWE Network if you want to see them and then hear our reactions on them. We also have done Dragon Ball Z movies and OVAs, as well as Dragon Ball movies and OVAs. We've also done Bleach movies, Bleach OVAs. We've done Supernatural, Arrow, Flash, Gotham. We've done Mike Tyson
video games.
Pokemon video games. We've done Mike Tyson Mysteries and Black Dynamite, right? Which is funny to me. And and you can find all this stuff on our website, thoseguysintheradio.tumblr.com. You can find updates on new episodes, not just on our website, but on our Facebook, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, our Twitter @ThoseGuysRadio, and our Instagram /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio. Also, by the way, if you want to message us if you want to tell us, hey, you can do this show, you can do that show, not only can you contact us through Tumblr, you can also do it through our Gmail, which is thoseguysintheradio@gmail.com, where you can also, if you want us to promote your product, your legal, by the way, product or anything like that on the show, definitely email us, thoseguysintheradio@gmail.com. We also have a YouTube channel. If that's how you like to, take in your media, we have a YouTube channel, which is Those Guys on the Radio, or TGOTR, and I'm constantly updating the channel with some of our newer shows. Also through iTunes. Haven't mentioned iTunes in a while because we have so much going on. iTunes as well. You can search up Those Guys on the Radio. You'll find our little logo there, and you can download our podcasts on your iProduct, phone, pod, whatever it may be. So we also have our Bandcamp account, by the way, which is tgotr.bandcamp.com, where Satish and I have done 2 shows thus far, both premium, both at a low price of $1, where we had the main event, we had the entire show for SummerSlam 2005, where Shawn Michaels fought Hulk Hogan for no title whatsoever. And we also have the Unforgiven pay-per-view from 2005, where John Cena fought Kurt Angle and the WWE title was on the line. So we've talked about both those shows. Again, low price of $1. You can give more if you want to help support us, or you can just give the low price of $1. Again, just helps us out, and you can get some of our exclusive premium content. Also, we have ourselves our we have our Let's Play YouTube account, which is Those Guys Play, TGP, and you can find both of us doing WCW Mayhem, where we play WCW Mayhem, or we're going to have some future episodes on, even some Halloween specials as well coming soon, and we play an assortment of games. And, not just with you and I, also with some of our other hosts, and that we've, been on the podcast before. And it's going to be pretty fun. Also, you, Mr. Rem, you've made some very funny entrances for WWE superstars in the WWE video games, and I've recorded those. Right, so we've recorded those, and they're really twisted and interesting and different. You can get a kind of look into Satish Ram's mind. Definitely check it out on our Let's Play channel. And I think I promoted everything we've ever done. Ever. We did it. I did it. And we have time to spare. So, would like to thank you all for listening in. You were still alive, Satish? Did it kill you? Did it finally kill you? Oh, good.
No, I was just hoping you were going to say, do I have anything else to add? Because then I was going to read the cipher off the end of the episode.
Do you have anything else to add? Because I know there's one more cipher that we didn't read in the show.
Yeah, well, at the end card.
Yeah.
Game is over and I won. Now it's time to start the fun. I always love corrupting lives. Now let's see which Pines survives.
Yeah, that freaked me out. Thank you. Because I'm a little worried that the kids are going to... I feel like the kids are going to live. I'm worried that one of the stands are going to pass away. Like, I'm worried that Stanford has... Oh, I'm sorry, No, it's happening. Stanley is... They're all getting mixed up in my head. It's like, no, it's not Stanford, it's Stan Lee. But Gideon said, but Gideon didn't know. So Stan Lee is going to try and save Stanford and die in the process. So I'm worried.
It could happen.
Yeah. But yes, so thank you for adding that. Thank you for scaring all of our viewers right before Halloween. Listeners, but Gravity Falls viewers. And we would like to thank you all for listening in to Those Guys. So say goodnight, Satish.
Good night, Satish.